I'm 81 years old, and for most of my life I believed I was a good father. I worked hard, I provided. I kept a roof over my family's head. I thought that's what being a good father meant. I was wrong. I didn't realize how wrong until my son told me to my face when he was 43 years old. What he said that day broke something inside me, but it also opened my eyes to truths I'd been blind to for decades. If you're a father or going to be one, what I'm about to share might save you years of regret. I had to learn these things the hard way. I grew up in a different time. My own father was a factory worker, quiet, stoic. I don't think I heard him say, "I love you" once in my entire childhood. That wasn't unusual back then. Fathers provided, mothers nurtured. That was the way things were. So when I became a father myself in 1970, when my first son Stephen was born, I did what I knew. I worked hard. I was at the office by 7 in the morning and often didn't come home until 7 at night. Saturdays, sometimes Sundays too. I was building something, a career, a future for my family. Helen, my wife, she raised those kids. Stephen, then James 3 years later, then our daughter Sarah in 75. I was there, technically. I lived in the same house. But looking back now, I wasn't really there. Not in the ways that mattered. The first thing I got wrong was thinking presence meant the same as being present. I remember Stephen had a little league game in the spring of 1979. He was 9 years old. He'd been talking about it all week because the coach said he'd be starting pitcher for the first time. Helen reminded me about it that morning. I said I'd try to make it. I didn't make it. There was a meeting that ran late, or maybe I let it run late. I don't even remember what the meeting was about now, but I remember coming home that night and Stephen was already in bed. Helen told me he struck out 3 batters. His team won. He kept looking at the bleachers, she said, looking for me. I told myself I'd make the next one, but there was always a next one, and I missed most of them. I missed band concerts. I missed parent-teacher conferences. I missed the small moments that don't seem important when you're living them, but become everything when you look back. What I didn't understand then was that children don't remember what you provided. They remember who showed up. The second thing I got wrong was believing that providing was the same as loving. I gave my kids everything I didn't have growing up. They had nice clothes, they went to good schools, we took family vacations when I could get away, which wasn't often enough. I thought I was showing them love through all of it, through the sacrifices I made, the hours I worked, the things I gave them. But love isn't a transaction. You can't substitute money for time. You can't substitute things for attention. James, my middle son, he went through a rough patch in high school, 87, 88. His grades dropped. He was staying out late with friends I didn't know. Helen was worried sick, and I handled it the way my father would have. I got stern. I laid down rules. I told him to straighten up or there'd be consequences. What I didn't do was sit down and ask him what was going on. What I didn't do was listen. I didn't know until years later that he'd been struggling with things I couldn't have imagined. Things he was afraid to tell me because I was never the kind of father you could talk to about hard things. He told me once when he was in his 30s that he used to wish I would just ask him how he was doing. Not his grades, not his plans, just him. "How are you, son?" That's all he wanted. I don't think I ever asked him that. Not once in all those years. The third thing I got wrong was confusing discipline with connection. I was strict. I thought that's what fathers were supposed to be. I believed my job was to prepare my children for a hard world, and that meant being hard on them. I criticized more than I praised. I pointed out their mistakes because I wanted them to do better. I thought I was helping them, but children don't hear "do better" when you criticize them. They hear "you're not good enough." And when that message comes from their father, it sinks deep. Sarah, my daughter, she was a sensitive girl, creative. She wanted to be an artist. I remember telling her when she was maybe 16 that art wasn't a real career. She needed to think about something practical, something that would pay the bills. I remember her face when I said it. She didn't argue. She just nodded and walked away. She's 50 now. She works in marketing. She's successful by any measure. But she told me a few years ago that she still paints sometimes, late at night when no one's watching, like it's something to be ashamed of, like she needs to hide it, because I made her feel like her dream wasn't worth believing in. I didn't mean to crush something inside her. I thought I was being realistic, practical. But I was her father. I was supposed to be the one who believed in her even when the world didn't. The fourth thing I got wrong was never saying the words, "I love my children." I truly did, but I never told them. I assumed they knew. I assumed it was obvious. That's how my father was with me, and I never questioned it. You showed love by working hard, by putting food on the table, by keeping the family safe. You didn't need to say it out loud, but you do. You absolutely do, because what happened in the summer of 2013 showed me just how wrong I was. Stephen was 43. He came over for a visit, just the two of us sitting on my back porch. Helen was inside making dinner, and somehow we started talking about the past, about his childhood, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Dad, I spent my whole life trying to make you proud, and I never knew if I did." I just stared at him, because in my mind, of course, I was proud of him. He'd built a good life. He was a good man. He'd done everything right. How could he not know? But I'd never told him. I'd never said the words, not once. He said, "You never came to my games. You never asked about my life. You were always working. And even when you were home, it was like your mind was somewhere else. I used to think maybe if I did something big enough, something impressive enough, you'd finally notice me." 43 years old, and my son was still trying to earn something I should have given him freely, something that should never have to be earned at all. That conversation broke me, and it woke me up. The fifth thing I got wrong was waiting too long to change. After that talk with Stephen, I started doing things differently. I started calling my children regularly, not to check on their jobs or their finances, but to ask how they were, just how they were. I started saying "I love you" at the end of every conversation. It felt awkward at first, unnatural. I'd gone 7 decades without saying those words to my own children. I started listening, really listening, not waiting for my turn to talk or thinking about what advice to give, just hearing them. I apologized to each of my kids for the games I missed, for the questions I didn't ask, for the things I said that hurt them. I didn't make excuses. I just owned it. And you know what happened? They forgave me, not overnight. Trust doesn't rebuild in a day, but over time they forgave me. James and I have a real relationship now. We talk every week. He tells me things he never would have told me before, things he was afraid to share when he was younger because he didn't think I'd understand. Stephen calls me just to chat, not because he needs something, but because he wants to. That never happened before. And Sarah, she showed me her paintings last year. She brought them to my house and hung them on my walls. I told her they were beautiful. I told her I was proud of her. I told her I was sorry I ever made her feel like her gift wasn't worth pursuing. I should have said it 40 years ago, but at least I've said it now. I'm 81. I've got maybe 5-10 years left if I'm lucky. And I've spent these last 12 years trying to be the father I should have been all along. It's not too late to change. It's never too late to change. But I wasted decades I can never get back. Decades of distance. Decades of silence. Decades where my children wondered if their father loved them. If you're a young father, or if you're going to be one someday, please hear me. Being a good father isn't about how hard you work or how much you provide. It's about showing up. It's about listening. It's about saying the words out loud, "I'm proud of you. I love you." Even when it feels awkward. Especially when it feels awkward. Your children won't remember the things you bought them. They'll remember the time you gave them. They'll remember how you made them feel. I thought I was a good father because I measured fatherhood by all the wrong things. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait until your children are grown to realize what they needed all along. The work can wait. The career can wait. But your children are only young once, and those years go by faster than you can imagine. One day they're 9 years old looking for you in the bleachers, and the next day they're 43 telling you they never knew if you were proud of them. I'm sharing this because I don't want anyone else to sit on their porch at 81 carrying the weight of what they missed. It's a heavy thing, that regret. But maybe if I share it, someone will listen. Someone will put down their work and go to the game tonight. Someone will say, "I love you" before bed instead of assuming it's understood. Someone will ask their child, "How are you?" and actually wait for the answer. If this reached you today, I hope you'll share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment. Tell me your story. I'd like to know I'm not alone in learning these things the hard way. And if you're a father who's still got time, don't waste it. Your children are waiting. They just want you to see them. That's all they've ever wanted.